I'm Robert George. I'm McCormick Professor of Jurisprudence and Director of the James Madison Program in American Ideals and Institutions at Princeton University. And I had the honor, together with Chuck Colson and Professor Timothy George of the Beeson Divinity School at Samford University, to co-author the Manhattan Declaration, a call of Christian conscience.
Now, there are people out there who say that's fine. I agree with this. I will sign it. But in my heart, I don't believe it will influence the culture. What do you say to them?
We live at a time of great opportunity as well as a time of great danger. There are grave threats, not only to the principle of the sanctity of human life, which has been so badly violated in the age of abortion and now metastasized to embryo-destructive research, but also with respect to the institution of marriage, which is in peril of being redefined. We also have the great danger to religious liberty and to the rights of conscience. And that danger is itself occasioned by the move toward abortion and the redefinition of marriage. There are powerful forces in this country who would like to force taxpayers to pay for abortions, who would like to force medical doctors to perform abortions, or at least refer for abortions and perform them if other physicians are unavailable or unwilling to do so. There are people in this country, even today, who are victims of attacks on religious freedom because they stand for the institution of marriage as the conjugal union of husband and wife. A wedding photographer in the state of New Mexico who, as a matter of religious conscience, an evangelical Christian, simply politely declined to photograph a blessing ceremony for a same-sex couple, was subjected to a fine of $7,000 under the state's so-called anti-discrimination statute. Catholic Charities in Massachusetts, an organization that for more than 100 years has placed orphan children in good homes with good moms and dads, was forced out of business, out of the adoption business. And when I say business, it's not as if they were making money. This was a charitable enterprise. But of course they required a license under Massachusetts law. For 100 years they had been a licensed adoption facilitator in Massachusetts, placed many, many children in good homes. Well, once Massachusetts, by court order, had same-sex marriage imposed on the Commonwealth, together with an anti-discrimination law that included sexual orientation as a category, Catholic Charities was forced to give up the adoption business or else comply with an edict requiring it to place children in homes with same-sex couples, homosexual couples who would be the parents of the children. Of course, as devout Catholics, they could not, in good conscience, comply with that. They could not send children into homes that were headed by couples who, from a Catholic point of view, biblical point of view, Christian point of view, are in immoral relationships. They were not granted an exemption, even though they requested one. So their only alternative was to stop doing what they had done and done so well for 100 years. So we see the rights of religious conscience in peril. But as I say, it's a time not only of danger, but of opportunity. We see public opinion now moving decisively in the pro-life direction. We need to seize on that. We need to move ahead in legislatures around the country and in the Congress, in the culture, as well as in our politics, to begin to rebuild respect for and protection for innocent human life, the life of the child in the womb, the life of the frail elderly person, the life of the handicapped person. We've also seen victories in state after state, 31 out of 31 times for marriage as the union of husband and wife. 31 states have had referenda in which they had to decide, the people had to decide, whether to keep marriage as we've traditionally understood it, as a relation of man and woman, or to redefine it as a relationship of two men or two women or what have you. And in all 31 cases, despite being outspent by the advocates of redefining marriage, very heavily in some cases, 3-1 in some cases, marriage has prevailed. So we have public opinion on our side and we must not lose it. Now's the time to push ahead in state after state and in the federal Congress to protect the institution of marriage. We can't do it all through politics. There's a lot more than politics at stake here. We have to fight in the culture. We have to fight in every dimension, but politics is crucial. We make our decisions about what our laws are by a political process, by a democratic political process. Because it's a democratic process, each of us has an opportunity to participate, and each of us has a responsibility for that outcome. Each of us is responsible for doing what we can to make sure that human life is protected, that the institution of marriage is preserved, and that the rights of religious conscience and the rights of religious freedom are protected.
So are you suggesting that people should do more than just sign it? What else should they do if it's more than just sign it?
In order to sign the Manhattan Declaration in good conscience, and I hope all of you will, it's necessary to read the Manhattan Declaration. And there's the way to start. Because if you read the Manhattan Declaration, you will begin a process of education, learning how to make the case in defending the sanctity of human life, in defending the institution of marriage, in defending the rights of conscience and religious freedom. Too few Christians understand how to defend what we believe. It's great to believe it, but we need to defend it because it's under attack in the culture. We need to be able to talk about it with our fellow workers and with our fellow students and with our friends and at events. We need to position ourselves to be able to witness to the great principles of the sanctity of human life and the dignity of marriage. So let's begin by reading the Manhattan Declaration. And then if you go to the website after you've signed the Manhattan Declaration, you'll see that there are resources for further education. And not only for education, there are resources that will direct you to what you can do concretely to advance these great causes. You can be part of the process of turning around the culture on the most important foundational issues: life, family, conscience.